our poet from Oregon visiting us, our birthday laureate, Susan Parman. And Susan from Hillsboro, Oregon, outside of Portland, is an anthropologist and award-winning poet, playwright, and fiction writer. Her chapbook, The Thin Monster House, will be published by Finishing Line Press in 2012. Susan.
Finishing Line Press was supposed to get the chapbook out in time for me to bring it here today. Instead, what I have for you are these little postcards, which I'll leave outside. They're about a month late, which apparently is not unknown. But I'm going to read the Fault Lines poem, one of the poems first, called Balter. Balter is part of a series of poems that I've been writing that are attempting to resurrect lost words. Words that we don't use terribly often, but I think would really enhance our vocabulary quite a bit. So the collection will eventually be called A is for Agatha Cacological, which, believe me, is a very, very useful word, especially in today's times. It means containing both good and evil. So instead of this polarizing that we're seeing, it's middle. Balter, to dance clumsily. Now I have a word to describe why I'm altered when we touch. Rendered brainless by the merest glance, I stutter, start, and shake with lust slouch, and stammering falter. How can I dance? I can't even walk. I'll crawl through the splinters of your smile, over miles of broken stones. Skinless, I'll dance in my bones. Skinless, my bones will stutter in the wind, long after you're gone. And on moonless nights, people will hear the sound and say, someone is Baltering. For my second poem, I'd like to read you the theme poem from my chapbook, The Thin Monster House, called The Thin Monster House. The thin house on the hill is invisible to adults, but children know when it will appear, although it can be seen only by its dark perimeter for less than a minute. Such a brief time, seconds fizz through fingertips, not enough time for fears to bubble and trouble small spirits, and yet so much can happen inside of a single minute. Enough weight to bury in the basement of a lifetime. Basements being preferable to dining rooms, the foyer, the entryway. No way does this minute penetrate the attic, seep down the hall into the bedroom, where pink llamas guard the door. How the house manages to evade the normal laws of physics is unknown, but somehow young children know when it's about to show. Maybe they smell something in the air or see a sliver of darkness quiver. They gather, and when the house appears like smoke, in they go. Is it their fault they hunt the spaces in between? Are they born with a gene for the creepy unnatural, the freaky singularities that stud the habitual? Is life built on detours from the straight and narrow? You'd think a house like that would look less ordinary, like a man in a three-piece suit at the desk of a motel. Someone you'd mistake for your grandfather or uncle. Like him, the house has a shingled facade. Its windows wink. It beckons you in. Only when you enter do you notice it's thin. Two dimensions that go on forever. Call attention to it, and it disappears. When you're older, we'll tell stories about those who manage to escape, who spend their lives battling about eyes that glisten like emeralds, or two toes at the base of a pendulum. Some are given frontal lobotomies to keep them quiet. Some never speak at all. Or if they do, they murmur in metaphors about long and dangerous journeys without shoes, how they lost themselves in winding corridors, how no one warned them away from the door that led to the basement, the deepest part of the thin house that appears for a nanosecond, the part that is old, that has been alive forever. In its dark corners hangs a mirror in which you catch a glimpse of the midnight sipping, dark loving monsters that swam the ancient seas, our own Devonian ancestors, down to the very beginning when the first quark barked on the event horizon.
Wow.